This body of work, it started out with mostly digital images from a digital camera, but then iPhone got better and better. It's actually too good for me now. I like it better when it was a little more funky, but whatever. I was initially trying to mix the printing of like having black and white analog prints with digital prints on inkjet prints, but it didn't. It was too distracting. So I've decided to the final print will be the digital. And like I said, I go back to older work. So I have old contact sheets. And what I like about there's a few in the show. I'd scan and all the contact sheets I've had for years, and they're all beaten up, and then I will then enlarge it and all the flaws. I mean, we haven't even gotten into flaws. How much I love flaws and the magic of mistakes and serendipity of you know and a lot of the color that comes from that where I'm trying to make something. I will take a color picture and make it black and white. I usually leave it black and white, but then I'll put a tone on it because it's nice to have a lot of different tones. I tend to sometimes throw a sepia tone on it in the computer, and I can crop from a bigger image. I'm not purist in any way, as long as I can get what I want out of it. And some of them are actually scans from negatives that I never printed, or I didn't even have contact sheets of. So I'll just do whatever I need to do to get the image. So I guess my main interest is the in between, what's happening outside the frame. And why I like this show is, to me, that little space that you made for me in between each picture is where the magic is sort of happening from, and the story sort of happen. So it's like this unnarrative narrative. It's like up to the person. And because I like the idea, like the image of a hand next to the image of a car, it's like internal, external. The image of a landscape, it's in, you go back and it sort of makes, for me, and then who knows what other people would see in it, but for me it's kind of like driving at night. And this is, I've stuck to very dark images here because it is that kind of like mesmerizing driving at night to me. It's you know when you're driving around and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I missed my exit because I was thinking of something else. And I'm just thinking of this as you're talking, but like I think of the objects more as like a trigger, but also the landscape is like a trigger for memory. The way a smell is, or like somebody says a phrase and all of a sudden so I think the photographs are very much a trigger for memory. Um, Quite some time ago, I'd say over 10 years ago, but maybe even over 15 years ago, I realized I'm attracted to taking pictures of the same things: houses, the horizon, water in general, trees, roads at night. And I have thousands of them. And well, I'll get to this in a second, but I realized I don't have to keep taking the same pictures, although I do, but I don't have to keep taking the same pictures over and over. I have this. It's like if you're a painter and you have some blue paint, it's there in the can waiting for you. So I have these images there in the can waiting for me. So to me, like photography is more like a material. So I need a good road picture. So I kind of scramble and look through all my road pictures, and I think, that's the one that. And it's interesting because especially when you take a lot, now with digital is crazy because I take an enormous amount of photos because it's so easy. I'll be driving and I'll just hold my hand out the window and just like click, 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 and then like spend hours like pulling out, just throwing stuff away. I'm like, oh, what was that? Because I'm not even really looking. But and it's funny because I always get to this point where I'm like, what's the difference between this picture and that picture? And it's like nothing, nothing, nothing. And then I get to the picture that like gets to what I want, which is unnameable for me even. And then I realize, and then I get to throw out all those other pictures because they just didn't have the spark that I'm interested in. And So it is funny because I I do find, even though like I'll have a folder that says trees, or I actually do have a folder that says bare trees, and there's like, 300 or 400 pictures in there, and I go through it, and it's like every time I go through it, I pull some out because I'm like, no, 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 and I chuck them out, and then again, you get to the one, it's like that's what I was looking for. I had to take 20 pictures to get to that, or 100 pictures even to get to that. But that's how that came about, because I had all these images. They didn't fit anywhere in my what I'll call my newer work, which is more of like sculptural installation type work. And yet I kept being drawn to them. I kept being, and I feel as though, at some point I would like to make one of the images a projection, and then all the other stills. I'm very influenced by film and older films, but particularly La Jetée, which is a film of, yeah. So, and then the one, and it's like, I'm just going to copy that, I'm just going to like, all the still images, but I want the still images to be out, not in one area. I love that you have to walk around this to make the movie. And also you can walk around backwards and make another movie, or you can go in and like go back and forth. Um, I love that. I mean, you guys put up a very comprehensive film for me. I appreciate that. But I might not have done that way. But there is this Cajun chance that I want to leave in that piece, which is the idea that um it's kind of like telling a story, like to a friend, and then they tell it to another friend, that game telephone. Or if you tell us, like if I were to tell you a story, and then I would tell my very close friend the same story, I might highlight different things in different stories because I don't know you as well, or I know her interest is different, or like when you're talking to your boss and you're not, I mean, in language it's called code switching, which I think is very interesting. But there is a visual code switching as well, so I am very interested in that. I guess the landscape is important to me, but the specifics of the landscape isn't to me important to the work. But there are places now, Newfoundland, but Nova Scotia is very important to me, and it's a landscape that I've felt very drawn to. India, I've gone 2 times before the whole lockdown, and I was in my mind I was going to go back every year, but see what happens. And because it's funny, I went out west to the southwest, and I took some images of houses, and somebody said to me, oh, is that in Nova Scotia? And I'm like, no, that's in Colorado or something, like. But so I mean, yes, the landscape, I think of landscape as having like like memory landmines that you kind of may or may not have a specific memory attached to it, but there's memories there. Places where you can see the horizon, definitely. And then house is house, and but it's also home. And especially driving down the streets at night, you drive past a house, and I do this a lot because I love to drive at night. And there's a light on, and then you start thinking about the family inside, or are they getting along, are they just sitting there quietly eating their dinner, are they having an argument, or they there's like a whole world going on in that little light beam that is got nothing to do with you. And it's like that whole, you're the center of your own universe, but there's like universes all over, you know and the quieter landscapes, I think, because the universes are more spread out, that you could there's boundaries, which I don't like boundaries, but there are little boundaries that you drive in and out of, or walk in and out of. So, in the city you're bombarded with everything. So, in theory, or in my hopes, what happens is I show whoever is going to create a group of images. they then we pick together, actually, ones that make sense together. And then I give them the opportunity and or task of arranging them how they want to arrange them. I like to give the not the word power is the wrong word, but the opportunity for it to have something other than what I would put, because it's exciting. Then it becomes exciting for me too. To just see in a different, you have a couple pairings that are, to me, just really lovely, and I would have, I may not have thought of doing that, and so that's very, very wonderful. The first time I showed it was up in upstate New York in a place called Catskills Artist Society. There aren't many rules in this game of the stills from a film not made, but there are three. One is never one image. Two is it has to go around at least one corner, because there's something about the corner that activates it for me. I don't know. And three is that it has to be sort of random. So to be honest with you, the randomness came in the choice of Rika, me putting them in the box in like a random order, and then you taking them out and putting them up in another random order. So it's like shuffling a deck of cards. And it's like, if you can think of, actually, I just got a really good idea for a deck of cards that you can just shuffle. And then you just, you can put, as many out or as little out. The only thing is it has to be two. That's the only rules to my game. It has to be two. It has to be even. And it's weird because I don't like even numbers, but I like one even less. So it can be more than two, but it can't be one.